Hey guys, RC here. Welcome back to Bowl-Bound College Football Tutorial, episode number 7. We finished off with the basics of getting started in recruiting last video. And this video, it's a whole new week. It's week 9, so we're in the second week of recruiting. And remember, that goes from week 8 to week 17. Now, we've gotten 3 new emails. Now, this is basically what you will see from this point to the end of recruiting. So I'm only going to cover the 1 week. And then it's basically repeating that week in to week out. We had gotten our email letter. All right. You're going to get at least 2 emails every week during recruiting after the first week. You get your recruit recommendations and your recommended recruit pitches. You will also get an email notifying you of anybody that signed or signed elsewhere. And then in week 4, you will get an additional email. And week 4 of recruiting, which is week 11, is the week that your players can potentially declare for the professional draft. Now, you remember we looked at that email. Michigan did not have anybody, so I'm not expecting an email. But if you have players on that list, you can potentially lose up to 2 players to the NFL draft. So let's take a look at the recruit recommendations. Again, this is something that you can copy and paste to another notepad or Word file to look at it. And this gives you a double breakdown. So the first section is your targeted recruits. Your second section is your other recruits. Difference here is your top group, your targets, have a scholarship offer. Your secondary group here does not have a scholarship offer. Now, what's important to follow here is their interest level, how many other teams are looking at them, and how many offers they have. So you can see this guy, Cowan, has 3 other teams looking at him, but he only has 1 offer, and that's from us. This guy, Walker, has 6 schools looking at him, and he's got an offer from every single school. So even though he's very high, he's not the top 1. We have a 1 in 6 chance of signing this guy. Might be a little better because he may have an offer from a team that's just way low and he will never consider. But it's something we at least can evaluate here and determine if we want to look forward to that. Now, if you keep track of this from week to week, then you may see that you go from top 1 to average. Well, that's an indicator that he's basically taken you off of his list, and that's an indicator that you might want to pull your scholarship offer. Now, what happens if that happens and you're the only offer on him? Well, he still may not be very interested, but he has no other alternatives. He might still sign with you. If I was on Cowan in 2 weeks and he was only average where he had started at top 1 and I was still his only offer, I'd likely stay on top of him. If I was looking at Walker and I go from very high to average and he still has 6 offers, I'm probably wasting my time. So you have to evaluate all, and this is all information that's given to you in the game. If you don't look at it, you'll never know what's going on, and it's here at your fingertips for you to use. So take advantage of that. I mean, it's very detailed, a lot of information. You just have to put the time and the effort in to find it. Same thing down for your other guys. Now, they have 1 or 0 offers, but none of these guys have offers from me. So most of them have an offer from somebody else. But like Jonathan Hutchinson, I'm the top player. I'm the top team on his list, but I know I haven't made him an offer yet, but I'm one of the 2 schools that are looking at him. So that may be a guy, if I come off of somebody, then I want to look at giving him that open scholarship that is available. All right, so that's the information in that email. And you'll also notice I have 0 remaining scholarships. Well, we made all the scholarship offers last week, so they're all out to other players. If As weeks progress, players start signing. You may log in and say, oh, I've got 6 scholarships left. Well, that means 6 players that you were after went somewhere else, and you get those scholarships back in your wallet for you to give out to other people. All right, so that's recommendations. Then we have recommended recruit pitches. Now, you remember when we looked at the player card, each player had 6 potential pitches: location, playing time, head coach, style of play, different things. This will give you 2 of them, okay? So you have to take note of this. And again, this is really good. This is one thing I copy and paste to make it easy for me, but I can't do that here on the video, so I'm just going to make an example on Cowan, because we're not going to look at every player, but we will look at Cowan, for example, just so you can kind of see what I look at in future weeks. All right, so stage details is kind of your home button. There's our new weekly checklist. We already checked our emails. I want to go to the player recruiting screen. Okay, and I want to reset all these to all levels, all recruits, ranking, but I only want to look at my watch list. Remember, if you add them to your watch list, so this is all the players that I'm recruiting. All right, so I can see my interest levels. Again, everybody's a 7 or better. If they were below a 7, I probably highlight them, take my money back, and you have to do that. You actually have to come in and remove the offer, clear their action, and that gives you the $2,000 back into your budget for the week. Now, you may ask yourself, well, wait a minute, you spent all your money last week except for $250, but it says you have $16,750 left. That is because you only scout a player one time. You recruit the player every week. So this $2,000 is every week, but this guy's from Michigan, so it was $500 to scout him. So I get $500 back because you only scout them one time. Now, we talked about Cowan. All right, so let's take a look at him. Okay, he's a 10 interest. Now, when we open his card, all of these fields have populated now. So we see his durability. That's a concern. He's only a 42. This is on a 100-point scale. Anything below 50 is below average. You typically would want something higher than 60 to avoid, and what this means is he's injury prone. He will be injured quite a bit during his career, potentially. Not a guarantee, but potentially. It gives us his passing skill. Well, that's a quarterback skill. He won't have that. He's a 76 running skill, a 79 catching skill. So he can run the ball okay. He could catch the ball out of the backfield. So he could be a Marshall Faulk-like running back. He can block a little bit. Running backs typically don't block. That's more of a fullback skill, but they're both in the backfield. So you could transfer this guy. You could recruit him as a running back, and then in that red shirt section that we talked about in the earlier video, you could look at moving this guy over to a fullback if you wanted to. So that's some ways that you can find a player at one position with the ulterior motive of being to move them to another position where it makes sense. Basically, your safeties can switch with each other, your free safety and your strong safety. They can sometimes go to corner and vice versa. Wide receivers can sometimes go to a defensive back sometimes. Your fullbacks and running backs can switch places, and your quarterback can become a running back if they have mobility and speed and everything. So that's just something to keep in mind as you are recruiting. That might be a way to find a guy that may not have as high a rating at his core position, so he may not be that interesting to a lot of teams, but you see something in him at another position, and you're going to recruit him and then change him to that position. Okay? You see his high school stats. These, again, will change week to week as he plays more games. So he's averaging 5.8 yards a carry. He's 20 touchdowns. He's got a few catches. He's also playing some defense. So There's some possibility there. You've got his 40 time, his vertical. I honestly don't look at these very much, but I do look at his GPA, his durability, and then you can compare these stats directly head to head with any other player. So he's a 76-79. Let me close him, and let me open up Wilson, for example. He's a 73-71. Not quite as good, not horrible, but you know, is his durability better? Much better. So I may be more interested in that player. So now I want to go from ranking to recruiting. Now, if I did ranking first, they should stay in order. Now, look, Cowan has an offer. Wilson does not. So, but Wilson had a much better durability. So this is where you need to make a decision as the coach, which one you actually want, and that comes from evaluating all the numbers in the game. Well, his 40, he's slower. His vertical's the same. He's stronger. He can bench more, so maybe he's going to be a better goal line back, able to plow the ball in from inside the 5. But he's certainly going to be on the field a lot more. However, you saw that asterisk. He's a JUCO guy right here, community college. So he's going to be a junior when he comes in. Now, he's just like any other player. He does not sit out this year. He's not a transfer. He's graduated from junior college, and he's going to be coming in as a junior rather than a freshman. So as we talked about the last episode, where you're trying to balance out your classes, the number of juniors and seniors and freshmen and sophomore, well, we had a light junior class. Well, if I recruit this guy, he's going to add one into my junior class, and that'll be one less in my freshman class. So that's a possibility. So maybe I come off of Cowan. If I wanted to do that, I would come in and I would remove his offer. Are you sure? Yes. Now, when you remove someone's offer, their interest in you crashes after the next week. But I can if I don't want to go after him anymore, I can clear my action, and that gives me $2,000 back into my recruiting, and then I would come up here and make him the offer. Okay, now I'm back to zero, but I have that extra $2,000, and Cowan is no longer being pursued by the University of Michigan. So next week I would expect that he would go from a 10 to probably a 2 or a 3 interest, and I would have no shot at him. Now, do you want the JUCO guy? Would you rather have the freshman? Do I go after this guy? Well, let's take a look, because we may want to go after him. When you look at the player card in recruiting, and this is where your recruiting service comes into play. Okay? Now remember, I picked the blue recruiting service, which was the top tier. It gives you the most information, and this is where that comes into play. This gives you the players' top 10 schools, an evaluation of their interest level in those schools, and then the asterisk means they have a scholarship offer from that program. So this guy is the number 5 running player in the country, number 3 as running back, and he's got an offer from South Bend, which is Notre Dame. Now, he's a blue interest, very high, and he was a 7 interest in us. I'm green. I could go after the guy. He's an Ohio kid, so it depends on what his pitch was. So I don't recall, because I didn't print that out like I normally would. So let's go take a quick look. Emerson, pitches. There's Emerson right here. So it's prestige and chance to win. Okay. So if we go back and look at him, well, chance to win is strictly that, your chance to win games. Well, if we're picked to finish 8th in the conference, they're not picking us to win very much. Now, the other thing we can do is we can go down here and we can look at South Bend, and they have a 77 prestige. What was ours? It was a 57. So they're much higher than us. So we don't know which of those 2 pitches is accurate, but we know it's one of them. And you will get updated emails, and they will update the 2 pitches. Some weeks it will show the same ones. And what you're looking for is to narrow it down to just 1 pitch. And again, when you highlight on that player, let's look at Cowan again, for example. Cowan, I had made he was recruiting, and I forget. Let me go look. I don't want to misspeak here. Can't read my own handwriting sometimes. All right, Cowan. Okay, head coach and prestige. Oh, there it is. I was looking at the wrong thing. All right, so head coach and prestige. So let's look at Cowan. All right. Now right here, you get 1 reveal every week. Now, according to my email, head coach was very important. So was prestige. Doesn't mean that it's head coach. It could be prestige still because we don't know. So what we're going to want to do is not make a pitch this week. We'll leave that at none chosen. Now this is important. Once you open it up and pick one, that locks in automatically. Don't do that. Leave it at none chosen. You can look at them, but if you're not sure, don't mess with that. We want to wait and get an email that shows us for sure that either we want to see prestige get revealed as not important or not as important, or we want to get an email that says head coach and location, and then see that location has been revealed as not important. And then we know that it's, once we have a match, we have a definitive answer, then we would drop this down and we would choose head coach or whatever it might be. Okay. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to clear his action. Well, actually, I'm going to stay the dollars on him. We didn't. Oh, wrong guy. Wesley. No? Here we go. Wilson. I'm going to remove the offer, and I'm going to put it back on Cowan. And I'm going to recruit him back. I was just showing you how to do that. And again, that may not be my actual decision in the course of a season, but that's the things I'm looking at. And I'm going to do that for every player, okay? And I'm going to look at the emails and see if anybody's interest level has significantly dropped. The other thing is I have 16,750. So then I'm going to go back and look at the entire pool again by ranking. Now remember, everything can change from week to week, okay? So we're going to go down to our 5 stars, and I'm going to do the same thing. No 10s. There's a 9, an 8, a 7. I've already contacted all of them. 5s. 4-star recruits, 10 interest, 9. All right, so here's a bunch of 8s, the white lettering that I have not contacted yet. You don't have to go from top to bottom. You might go, well, I know I've got enough running backs, but boy, that tight end had six offers. Remember that? So I'm going to go after this guy. And then I'm going to go after a receiver because I have not gone after a receiver at all this recruiting period. And then I like those linemen, so I'm going to go after another lineman and get him scouted. And then maybe another guy to beef up my secondary in case that other guy falls off. And then I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, I've got 2250. So, again, in Michigan, I could do 2,500. So maybe what I want to do here is add to watch and scout. And add to watch and scout. So I'm not recruiting these two guys, so I have to add them to watch myself. And all I did was scout them. Now, scouting, remember, gives you this information. And that's what you really want to get. The more people you can get here, then that's more players that you can actually look at their numbers and see what fits for your team and help you evaluate even better who you're going to want to go after. So I'm down to 250 again. I can't recruit, I can't scout anybody. So we're going to come back up and we're going to do our 5 visits. Remember, don't forget that. And we're going to do the first 5 guys, or however you choose to do it, with offers. All right. And so we've got those locked in. We've got no offers left. Now, you'll notice I did not look at these 3 things. To me, those are not, I don't need to evaluate my roster every week. The recruit ranking, I'm looking at the same thing in the recruiting screen. And the recruit watch list, I can look at that when I select the watch list in the screen like we did here when I look at just the watch list. And if you have it all the way open, there's my watch list, which is the same as that right there. Except from that screen, you can't do any recruiting. You actually have to open the card to do it. So your choice. I mean, there's multiple ways to maneuver around, but in this, there's only typically 3 things. And at this point, I would advance the week. Yes, I know I have $250. I can't do anything with it. We're going to advance. We're going to wait for the CPU. Now, again, in a multiplayer, you would go to online, export, and send that out. You would not advance the week. This is just to get you through it so you can kind of see what's happening. Now, we've moved on to week 10, just like last time. Here's our week 9 recruit recommendations. Top 1, high, very high. All right. Recommended recruit pitches. So here's those pitches again. Now, we said it was coach and prestige for Cowan last week. Now it's coach and chance to win. All right, so let's take a look at him real quick because we want to talk about how to nail a pitch. All right, so we're going to go to the recruiting screen. We're going to find Cowan. And I didn't go through all my players, so there could have been players last week the last sim that I could have gotten their pitch. But now we look and say, okay, head coach, it was head coach and prestige before, and now it's 2 other things. So we know it's not prestige, and head coach has been consistent, so I'm going to pick head coach for this guy. Once I select it, it's automatically locked in. I don't have to save anything there. Okay. When I look at him, I'm the only scholarship offer to him, and he is very high interest, and this tells me that he's all the way up. That's a 10 interest, which is confirmed right here. So that's how you would do that. The other email that you start getting once players sign is this. You notice, and I didn't delete the email so you could look at the difference. So we have recruit recommendations, recruit pitches, but in this week we just finished, we have a recruit summary. All right, well, Michigan committed 2 players, and right here, commits 2, no scholarships, which means we didn't lose anybody. Now, if we had anybody on our watch list that signed elsewhere, it would appear down here, whether we have a scholarship offer to them or not. So that means we have not lost anybody. Our entire board is intact right now. Everybody's still in play, and we don't have any more scholarships. All right, now, because we signed 2 guys, that means that the money we were spending on weekly recruiting for them has gone back into our recruiting budget, as well as any scouting dollars that we put on those new guys that we scouted last week. So we have $10,750 that we can use this week. Now, Lionel Walker and Dustin Morris, don't remember them off the top of my head. We'll come in here. We will unhide committed. And there they are, Walker to Michigan and Morris to Michigan. Walker was the guy that had 6 offers. Remember that? So this guy is the number 7 tight end in the country, the number 165 overall. We had an offer on him. He's a 93 durability. GPA is a slight issue. Doesn't run extremely fast, but he's got some wheels. He's got great hands. He can really catch the ball, and he can block. So he's going to be an every down tight end for us. When we talked in a couple of videos back about the offensive strategies or playbook, with a 91 catching, this is where you might not want to have just 7% of your balls thrown to your tight end. I mean, this is a Gronkowski type guy that you may want to up him and throw the ball to him 30% of the time. So keep that in mind. So we signed a really good tight end. And Morris, the defensive tackle, 3.1 GPA, 75 durability. Let's see, defensive tackle. Catching. Defensive tackles don't intercept the ball a lot, but hey, it could happen. They'd almost have to hit him right in the hands to have a shot. 82 pass rush, so he can get to the quarterback. 95 defending the run, so he's going to be a stud in the middle, just plugging up the gaps between the center and the guard. And an 81 on tackling, so he won't miss many tackles. You can see 52 tackles, 13 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles in high school. Now, we didn't even hit a pitch on this guy yet, and they signed anyway. Now, you will not sign people in week 2 every week. Sometimes you don't sign people till the 6th or 7th week of recruiting. And the lower your prestige, the longer you typically have to wait, which of course puts you at risk for teams like at Michigan in the 50s or 60s coming down and poaching your players after they start losing players on their board. All right. So basically this is what's going to happen from this point all the way through the end of recruiting. You will get the updated emails that you can now cross-reference with the previous email. You will have a track record of suggested pitches that you can then use to finalize what pitch you're going to make to a player. And that's pretty much it. Then you go back into I don't have any scholarships, but I have $10,750, so I'll hide those committed players. I want to go back to the entire pool, and I want to start looking for more players that I can scout. Or the other option is I can go find those 2 guys that I had recruited. And if you don't remember their names, that's okay. You just have to kind of scroll through. I want to go back to my watch list. And recruiting maybe. I don't think they showed dollars here. But I remember they were 4-star players. So what I can do is pick one, and then I can just use the down arrow. And what I'm looking for is right here where the recruit button is still lit up. Now you see everybody else says clear action. That means I've already recruited them. If it's recruit, that's one of the guys that I've scouted, but I have not put any money on. So I can raise that up. I can recruit him. I don't have an offer for him. And I'm just going to scroll through looking for that other guy. That'll be my priority. Because the thing is, they won't show up in that list. They're already on your watch list, so you may not be able to pick it out there. So I'm going to do that. There's the 2 guys that I had scouted but did not recruit. Now I'm down to 4,750. I can go in and scout and recruit a few more players this week, and that just adds to my depth. And eventually you want to, depending on the level program you are, you want to have everybody that is a 8 or higher interest scouted, and recruiting every player that you have a scholarship offer out to, and anybody else that you think is someone you may go after in the future. So I'm not going to go back in. I think that's hit enough of recruiting to kind of show you what to look for and how to plug things in. So I hope that helps. Going to go ahead and put a cut in right here, as that should finish off recruiting for us. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.